stream is about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Hi, I'm Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is to continue our JS Effects library. One of the main reasons why I wanted to have a JS Effects library is to help developers of real-time audio effects for REAPER and to develop better looking effects. And when I say better looking, I don't necessarily mean that it's going to look like a piece of gear with a nice faceplate. I just mean that it will be carefully designed, good colors, good spacing, all that kind of stuff. So design system goes a long way to help you achieve that. And since, was it yesterday or Tuesday, we started a new version of the library. I think we landed on a good sweet spot of flexibility, ease to use, good feature set. But that means that we changed the way that we use data structures, and colors were data structures. So we'll have to revisit how we are adding colors or defining colors in the design system. We also have here things like font sizes and spacing. We're going to revisit all of that, bring that from the old version to the new version. And as we go along, we are also going to finish this, hopefully. I really hope that I will be able to finish this today, but we'll see if I can get the rest of the, I guess, properties that I'm still missing from the design system, which is based on a CSS design system, which in turn is based on Tailwind CSS, which is a CSS framework that I based my design system on. So let's get started by the easy stuff. Let's get started with gfx retina equals that line. So this line is important because it enables retina support. So I want that to happen in the init block. And that's what used to happen here as well. So let's check the effect of adding this line. I have this tests plugin, and it's a JS Effects plugin that just runs a bunch of tests and shows if the tests are passing. So we are testing things like conversion between milliseconds and samples and that sort of thing. But now I added this line to the library, and that is going to have an effect. Let me drop that, and you can see that the text is very small. Here's what it looks like without this line. The text is a lot bigger this time, and that is because when you have Retina enabled on a display that has Retina resolution, which is the case here, then the dimensions are going to be half as much. They're going to be half the size. So that's why the text gets smaller, because it's exactly half as big as it was before. Let's add this to the track again, and then we can see that it's a lot smaller. So we want our users of our library to use Retina or to support Retina. So we are not giving them a chance. We are just adding that. The next, how about we go for colors? Colors are interesting. The interesting thing about colors is that it's a piece of data, like red, 300, a shade of red. That's one piece of information, but it comes in 3 parts because every color is composed of a red, green, and blue components. So it's one piece of data that is actually 3 pieces of data. So before I was using data structures to store this, I think it's still valuable to use data structures to store this because I like the idea of colors being values. In case you want to put colors in an array and then cycle through the colors to maybe show different pieces of information in your interface, something like that. But we definitely changed the way that the data structure is defined and works. Another thing that I probably don't want to keep is this REAPER gray, because I learned that REAPER actually supports dark mode. So this gray is going to work on light mode, but it's not going to work in dark mode. So I don't think there's a lot of purpose in having this special color. And the way that we wrote all these numbers, so these are like one shade of yellow, and then you can see the red, green, and blue components. And the way that we got these numbers is I have this CSS library with a design system that I in turn borrowed from Tailwind CSS. And we wrote a little JavaScript program that converts from CSS into this. And that's what we're going to revisit right now. So this library has changed recently. I changed the way that a few features work, so I'm going to get the latest link. And I'm going to drop it here for reference. Then let's start a little JavaScript file. I'll call this index.js, and I'm going to drop the old program in there. It's going to have to be different. So let's see what's going to change. First, let's grab the colors. And transparent doesn't make sense in JS effects, and this is a SVG thing. Also doesn't make sense, but everything below here makes sense. So let's grab all of this, paste there, and maybe let's indent this nicely. And then let's see the processing that we are doing. Okay, so first we take out the space from the end and from the beginning. Then we split on new lines, so we end up with something that looks like this line, and that's what I call color. Then I trim to get rid of these spaces in the beginning and spaces at the end if there were any. And then I match against a regular expression that starts with dash dash. Then this is going to be the first capture group that I'm calling name. Then this, then dash, and then 2 digits for the red, 2 digits for the green, 2 digits for the blue. Then semicolon, end of match. Then I end up with name, red, green, and blue. The name, I just replace all the dash dashes with dots. Then the red, green, and blue, I parse this hexadecimal into decimal and divide by 255, because there's this quirk in JSFX where colors are not represented by numbers between 0 and 255 as usual. They are represented as numbers between 0 and 1. So that's why I do this. And then I output a snippet of JSFX. This is what we see here. And I think that this needs to be different. We have to think about how we are going to define this data structure, but I think that yeah, I think we'll have something like this to create a new color, the same way that we have in the new version of the library. We have that function to create an array. We'll have a similar function to create a color, just like that. And then we are going to pass red, green, and blue as arguments instead of explicitly setting things like this. The reason being that in the new version of the library, we are not letting data structures be values in and of themselves. Instead, we have constructor functions, just like this one. And these constructor functions are responsible for allocating and initializing the data, the same way that a constructor would do in languages like Java. So let's run this program and we'll see what comes out. I'll have to go to where this is. So it's under library, application support, REAPER, effects, liafac, and then let's run index.js. It's not here. Where did I create this file? Oh, I created it there. Okay. And this looks about right. So let's copy this and paste into the new design system situation that we have going, just like that. And I'll also grab this program. I don't think I want to have the whole thing. Maybe I will, just like that. Okay, so it's very clear that this JavaScript program is generating the code right below. Now, of course, I still have to define this function, and I have to put this in the right context. But let's start by defining the function. So my function called underscore color will receive red, green, and blue. It is going to allocate a color, and its body is going to be color equals, let's allocate some memory. We need 3 positions in memory, and that's what we are going to return in the end. And then I'll have 3 fields, red, green, and blue, into this data structure. These are the locations where you'll find that. So I'll do color red is equal to red, and then the same for green and blue. By the way, I was thinking of the functions that we have already implemented, and I was thinking that maybe we could be explicit about our global variables. For instance, here we are using this. So it could be nice to declare that we depend on this global. This way JSFX is going to warn us if we are using global variables that have not been, if we are using local variables that have not been declared, which is always a nice thing because we don't want stray variables, especially if you have typos in the program and whatnot. And I believe that this is a global as well. Okay, yeah, I like the way that this reads. It works for me. And let's just double check if there are other global variables that we have used so far. No, this is the only global variable so far, or actually these two are the only global variables. Oh no, there is also this. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna take it back, because if I declare global variables everywhere, then JSFX is not going to let me use any global variable that has not been declared. Then I will have to declare all the fields in the data structure. That's just going to be too verbose. So I'll take it back. Okay. I guess I will follow the convention that local variables will be declared on the second line, just like that. Okay, that makes me happy. So now we have the underscore color function, which creates colors, and we have this, which uses that. And I think that's all we need. Yeah, let's get rid of this file. Let's commit what we have and give all of this a try. Okay, so I migrated that. Then some cosmetic changes. But really the main change is this part. So now our tests plugin here, instead of this, we could be using the colors. So let's do that. I am going to borrow or bring over an auxiliary function that I had that was for background color, that one. Guess I can, well, I'll just get one of these. I'll get the other two at some point. So this background color this background color situation is going to receive a color, which is one of these data structures with 3 fields. And I think I will need any local variable. I don't think I need to do any of that. I will just get the color and then underscore color red, green, or blue, and do that. This is a special thing in JSFX where you can set the background color for the pane where the effect is. Right now it's black, for instance. And unlike the rest of the functions that work with color, this one is a single number. and you have to do this arithmetic to get that number. So now we can say something like gfx or underscore background color passing as argument. Let's do gray warm 900. And instead of using this, I'll use something like that. Now there is a conflict in the name. Underscore color is the initializer for a color, but I also want it to be the setter for a color. So because of this ambiguity, I am tempted to rename this just like that. Yeah, and if I am going to do that for the color, I think I better have that in the rest of the system, just following the naming convention. And then over here on the tests, we do the same. So let's look for array and memory. And there you go. I think we did everything. So now let's revisit this. I'll have that, and it's supposed to work. So I can say that that's my background color, and then my color is going to be, how about a 200 for a foreground? Then let's see what the tests look like. It's very similar. I wonder if this worked at all. Let's do something different then. Let's do some bright colors. But first, let me review what I did. Are the tests all passing? No, the memory one is not. So probably I have some mistake in there. All of this looks fine. Do I say new every time? Yes, I do. All of this looks okay. Let's review the changes carefully. Okay, let's focus first on this. We'll make this a dark foreground, a light foreground, and a dark color. So I should see this on white now. And I do. So that is working. Great. Next, we need to investigate why our test is failing. So I'm going to add it here. This way I can run test by test and we'll see. Okay, I think I already know what the issue is. It's that I'm allocating a lot of memory in here. All of these are allocating memory, so my positions in memory are not going to be are not going to start at 0. So I'll set something like this. Or base address, something like that. And then I will do something like this. Except that this alignment thing is dependent on what is my base address. And I guess this begs the question, should I be allocating memory here? Initially, in our older version of the library, we didn't allocate memory at the top level like I am doing here. Instead, we had this function that you were supposed to call, but I'm gonna try to avoid having that. So maybe the consequence is that the alignment tests are not going to work all that well. Or maybe I can just do the trick real quick. Where I align the memory, but then I'm sort of encoding some information about the tests or about alignment in the tests, which is not ideal, but so how do we do that? Just forcing the memory to be aligned at this point. So now all of this that makes sense, and I do want to make sure that this division is going to have a reminder of 0. This way I know that I aligned the memory to begin with, and then all the rest of my tests will make sense. Okay, let's see if this is passing. And it is. Great. So now all the tests are passing. Great. Kind of hacky. Not in love with this, but does the job. Moving on. Let's get rid of everything that has to do with color over here, because we already converted that into the new version. And then we have this second issue. Because we are supporting Retina, we cannot define the numbers for the sizes right away, not in the init block anyway. And as far as I can tell, the GFX block of the library is not even going to run. So the issue is, this variable is going to become 2 in a retina display and 1 in a non-retina display. The thing is, this variable is only going to become 2 in a retina display in the GFX block. So I don't think that the GFX block is even going to run. Let's delete this from here and drop the function track again. Going to edit, and we now are looking for a variable called debug, and it doesn't exist. So because that variable doesn't exist, I know that the GFX block is not running, so I need to run something in the GFX block. I guess the only solution really is that function, that whole hack. And then in that case, it sort of transfers from here 1 to 1, because I don't think there is anything else that I want to do. But hanging there, if I am doing all of this, I might as well just do that and not allocate any memory in the top level. Right? Right, let's do that. But there are a few more things that I need to capture from here. I'll call this constants. I have this dB minimum here going on. And I suppose I should instead have minus infinity. That makes more sense to me. Great. So now let's revisit how we are doing this. I'm going to move up this, or maybe not. Let's leave that there. So let's see how this is working. I guess now you are required to call this function at the beginning. And then this executed will start as false. And if it has not been executed, then we will execute it. And it is going to set all these variables for us. Might as well just do this, which is memory allocation in the GFX block. It's not ideal, but it's only going to happen once. So you can sort of pretend that this is sort of an extension of the init block in the GFX block. So now I'm going to bring all of that over. Like that. And fix the indentation. In the CSS version of this, I put the colors at the end because they're so long. So I guess I'm going to do something similar here. I'm going to leave this block, this function, this GFX function as the last one. Okay, so now I can grab all of these and move it up. Looking good. And then all that hack that I created for the memory test, I can get rid of all of that. So this should make sense. This and that isn't necessary anymore. And then this check is unnecessary. And those are unnecessary. But the tests should still be passing. Let's see. Seems like they are. Let's drop the effect on the track again, just to be extra sure. Yep, they are all passing. Oh, no. Power to dB is not passing, and linear to dB is not passing. Yeah, this dB minimum situation is now minus infinity. Pass, pass, pass. Everything is passing. I like that. By the way, let me review these changes. Not on this repository. I want to see the changes on this repository because I didn't really review what I just committed. Okay, I like that. And I like this. Right. Let's look at the treatment of fonts. So from this old effect, I know I will not want these initializers. Can get rid of that. And then I still have undefined and error. Where do I use that? Yeah, I guess that's a good use. An error. Where do I use that? I don't use it at all. But the jury is still out on whether I want to have enumerations as a thing on the system. I guess I do, right? I want things like different filter types. So yeah, let's bring over enumeration, except that I'll do a .new here just because everything else has a .new. So that makes sense to me. And now just like that, we have enumerations. So let me find everywhere where I use enumeration. And I will do a .new so that when we end up copying and pasting code, it will work. And this is me doing that on the old effect. Now that I did this, I'm able to grab this from there. And I guess this is going to be one more of my constants, except that now I need to define the enumerations above. So maybe my constants are going to be the last thing. And hello, Joseph. Is that how you say your name? Probably not. Sorry about that. Oh, is this a reference to Vaporwave? I dig it. Hello, would you be able to write a JSFX that communicates with other instances and serve as a blank audio check on given tracks with a function of normalization to a given loves level? I don't know, let's break this down. Would you be able to write a JSFX that communicates with other instances? Yes, there is something called gmem, and it's a big block of memory where you can access, well, it's a big block of memory that you can access and that is shared among other instances of your plugin, or really with any other plugin that uses the same name. So you have to give a name, or you can give a name to the gmem, and then every effect that is using that same name is going to share that global memory across one REAPER project, I suppose, maybe one REAPER instance, probably one REAPER project, but it's shared like that. So that's possible. And now that serves as a blank audio check on a given track with a function of normalization to a given loves level. That is something that I don't really understand. Can you elaborate on what you mean by this? Because I know that I can write JSFX that communicate with other instances. I know that I can compute loves levels on JSFX. But a blank audio check on given tracks with a function of normalization, I don't really understand what you mean by that. So if you can explain, I'll probably be able to give a better answer. Okay, but I was doing all of this because I wanted to port a constant, which I did. And then there is a big thing that I forgot to do here on my tests effect, but I always want to serialize. Because that changes the semantics of how the init block runs. So I always want to have an initial serialized block, and the contents of my serialized block, I want to be something that I haven't really talked about, but I'm going to talk about now. In all these streams about, I sort of mentioned what this is for, but I never really showed this. It's a trick that I picked up from Geraint Love, and what he does in the serialized block is he stores the version, and this is so that when I update the plugin in the future, I can get a hold of the old version that was there, and I can do sort of a migration in case I changed sliders or changed functionality in any way. So this is always a good thing to have in the serialized block. And having a serialized block is necessary to change the semantics of the init block. So there you have it. And now every plugin that uses my library is going to have to call the serialized block like this, and it's going to have to do the GFX block like that. I wonder if I can extract this. I wonder if I can extract this into a sort of a... And this is like the version number. It would be 1.0.0, but I cannot really put the points there. So we can explore if this is going to work. But first, Joseph says that it would be possible to solo the track. Let me see if I understand this. You want to drop one JS effects per track, so you have a REAPER project with many tracks. You want to grab a JS effects that you can drop on every track. And then you want to be able to, say, solo one of the tracks, but keep the LUFS level. So you are going to not perceive any difference in loudness. So you can solo different things, but they are not going to be louder or quieter. Is that what you mean? If so, that is doable. But why do you want this? What's your use case? Right, so let's explore this idea and see if first of all, let's see if this version variable is going to show up in the list of variables on the right pane, which it should. Version 100, it does. Now, let's try to extract this into a function. Okay, so I'm sort of encapsulating that notion of what the serialized block is supposed to do and why it does that. So let's see if this still works. It seems like it does not work because I don't see a version variable here as I should see. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna fly. So let's revert to that. And this trick is something that occurs in this. See? Exactly what I have there. And then you can do migrations like this for backwards compatibility, which is something that we'll have to deal with when we get to using this library for the auto mixer. Right, so let's see what we changed. We got rid of the undefined there. And you know what? We got rid of our error constant, but I think I like it, so bring it back. So I migrated that. It is going to show up here. And we have this serialized block. Great stuff. To blind test multiple versions of the same audio file with different changes and plugins, it would be useful in mastering. Yeah, so I think that what you're talking about already exists. I haven't really used it myself, but I know some tools that were supposed to do this. TB Pro Audio, probably under download, and it's AB something. Can you get out of the way? Allow all cookies. Free products. Other downloads. Auto gain staging. AB level matching. Gain control. Analyze effects chains at equal loudness. REAPER script. I think that this is your guy. Has been updated recently, it seems. Less than 1 year ago, so should be good. Give this guy a try. It is supposed to do exactly what you're talking about, or maybe you already did and there is something that this doesn't do that you need. In that case, let me know. There are also, I think meter plugs does something like that. Dynameter perception AB. Eliminate loudness deception. Yeah, AB for mastering. So you can look into those. And it seems like these are tools for mastering engineers. So could look into that, but it could be fun to develop that too. So, right. Because in theory, that is a relatively easy effect to develop. Once you have LUFS metering, which is not that hard to implement, we probably will implement it soon-ish on the stream. Once you have LUFS metering, it's just a matter of getting the LUFS from one channel, getting LUFS from the other channel, and if you're doing it with integrated LUFS, it's going to be relatively stable, so it's a static gain change. If you wanted to use LUFS momentary or short term, then it would be fluctuating, and then our little plugin here would sort of act as a compressor because it will be writing the gain. That's not what you want in mastering when doing A/B comparison. So I think that you probably want to use the integrated loudness and just let track run for a minute or so it stabilizes. It's relatively easy to build this. Maybe that's why it exists already, but maybe you need something that is more specific, so let me know. Right, so I was talking about fonts and I got sidetracked. Let's go back to fonts. So I already brought these two over, but then the font one is a good one. We have to encode the knowledge that Arial is the only font that is available in every major operating system, so that's why I force you to use Arial. And then okay, so we have all these setters. We have color, background. Let's have another one for font. And we get a size and a style, just like that. So it's similar to the native REAPER thing for setting a font, except that I am encoding, or I'm hard coding some stuff in here. And it seems like I am missing something. Probably I already copy and pasted, which is my font styles. Where is this? Font size, font style. So it seems like this is good to go. All I gotta do is come here and GF or font, and then I need to tell what is the size. So I'll make this maybe small. And then as for the style, I think I want regular. So now the font should be different. It shouldn't be this monospaced font. And it's not. And this is probably way too big. No, not quite. It fits. So there's that. And then for the space here, I now brought over my spacing utilities. So let's give it a little bit of padding, maybe 4. So I want this to not be so close here to the edge. So full compile reset. And it's not so close to the edge. Win, win, win. And then I had this other function here, whose purpose is to set the font, set the color, set the position, and then draw the string. But I'm not sure that I love this function because everything else in the API sort of works by you having to set everything beforehand. So I think I prefer to just follow the style of JS effects on this one. I want to take this back in the future, but yeah, I don't think that this is adding a lot of value. Because you're sort of repeating yourself. It's just a matter of if you forget to set the color, this is going to warn you, like it's going to blow up. Yeah, you know what? I'll take this. I'll take this. Because it's a nice reminder of everything that you need to set in order to print something. So now I suppose I can change this into print, and then I can grab all of these, paste there. What is my string? It's tests. How about my font size? That. And my font style? This. And then my text align horizontal and vertical. I'm gonna say that it's left and top. Text overflow visible. Color this. X and Y. Those, and width and height 0, because I don't want to centralize anything, so I don't need to pass anything meaningful there. So then I can get rid of this tree, and it should still look the same. And it does. So let's commit what we have. Okay, all of that looks good. And I meant something similar to this plugin, but with the ability to compare LUFS instead of peak values. Oh, so you were saying that the TB Pro Audio thing that I was showing, and even the meter plugs. Where is it? So you're saying that this is based on peak levels. And this is also based on peak levels. I don't think it is. I think it's based on RMS, which is better. It's not LUFS, but it's based on RMS. It looks like it's doing some RMS and then peak. Oh, and I see here ITU RBS 177. That is LUFS. So it may be able to do LUFS, RMS, and peak. I haven't really used it, so I don't know. But, and the meter plugs was supposed to be good, so I was expecting that it would do LUFS. And the same person did the LUFS meter that everyone used before REAPER had its own stock LUFS meter, which is this one. So I bet that this has some LUFS capability as well. You may want to check on that. I don't know. You know what? I know what you're talking about because I know this developer, but I don't really know the blind test. I know this developer has done some great things, especially in terms of visualizing loudness over time and everything, but I haven't really looked at the blind test. But I do want to talk more about this because I want to understand really what it is that you are doing or proposing to do. So here is something. You cannot send links on the chat, but I can, because I'm the master here. So join us on this Discord where we have this Leandro Facchinetti channel where we talk about what is happening on the stream, what's going to happen on the stream, what has happened on the stream. So maybe go there and let's chat more about this. And I want to understand how what you're proposing is different from these other things. And I can look at the Hada blind test plugin as well. But for now, I need to sign off. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you everyone else who's watching this. And have a great weekend. I see you back here on Monday, and I will have Arya from IDKG Sound over. We're going to be working on his website. He will have included meta tags on all his posts, and we're going to use the meta tags to do something interesting. And yeah, as far as our little thing here, we didn't finish, but we made some good progress. We migrated a lot of stuff. Most of it was just copying and pasting and making sure that everything still made sense, which is good. Most things are still making sense. And yeah, have a great weekend. I see you all back here on Monday. And for more JS effects, that will be on Tuesday. Bye. See you.